Hi guys, just going to do a quick demo for you about choosing a frame for your painting. This is something that I picked up on at the thrift store, and it is charming enough. But the thing that I care about with this painting is that not only does it have a nice frame, but it has what's called a mat here. And actually, it has more than one. It's really, really very pretty actually. So I'm looking forward to putting my own painting in here, and I'm just going to show you the steps that I would go through. So the first thing is, I'm going to look at the back of the painting here, and I'm going to take a look at how to get it apart. It's definitely been done professionally, and you see that there's going to be some tape here. So I'm just going to pull that tape off. I'm not exactly sure what I am going to find here when I'm done with this. Each frame is a surprise once you pull all the backing off. Sometimes there'll be a whole just sheet of brown paper on the back, and that's not so bad. Just got to pull that off too. Okay. Now there's staples, kind of intense staples all around the outside. So I am going to go at that with a screwdriver. All right, I got my screwdriver. Phillips head is the best, at least it's, I think, the flat kind, flathead, not Phillips head. And I'm just lifting up each individual staple. They're really hardcore. Let's see. I want to preserve the staples because I'm going to put them back once I've finished my painting. I'm just going to do all of this real fast here. And not every one of these is going to have staples like this. It just depends on how good the framing job was. Sometimes you won't have anything to really contend with, especially if you buy your frames new from like IKEA or something. You won't have hardly any issues. But I do think that if you go to the thrift store, sometimes you can find really nice frames for a couple of bucks, and it's really worth it in the long run. Okay, now that the staples are out, I'm going to work with this piece of, there's like some foam core here on the back, and that is just going to pop out, hopefully, here. And I'm so stoked that this wire is here because it's going to be awesome later for when I want to hang the piece. But for the time being, it's a little annoying. Okay, foam is out. Now there's just a piece of glass here, and I'm just going to set this aside. And what I've got left, hopefully I haven't damaged it too much, is the foam plus the mat in front of it. Now I'm going to try to be careful. And depending on how old this is, sometimes these have been glued together for a long time, and it's kind of difficult not to damage the mat. However, seems like this is pretty good. They've used double-sided tape to put it down. They haven't really glued it. Sometimes the tape has, like I said, gotten old, but in this case, it comes off pretty easily. And this mat here, which is a double mat, you can see, it's really nice. It's in pretty darn good condition. So I'm just going to preserve that. I'm going to put it aside. And then I know that I'm going to want to keep this foam core. And actually the tape isn't so bad either. I do have double-sided tape. You don't have to have it, but it is kind of nice. I'm just going to pull this off. I kind of like how destructive it is. All right, nice. Just a piece of foam that fits perfectly in the frame that I've just taken apart. Awesome. Put that aside. Okay, now I have trash here. My good old drawing board, painting board. You guys have one very similar, probably. And I have a piece of scrap watercolor paper. It's a little banged up, but that's okay for these purposes. The great thing about it is, as I showed you in the syllabus, I wanted you guys to order the big sheets so you could just cut them down. So in this case, now I know that I have my my mat, and if I did this right, it should fit the size of the paper. You can see that the paper will take up the entire frame of the mat. Okay, so the important part here now is that I'm going to turn this paper over, the mat over, and I'm just going to try to fit it on top of, upside down, not right side up, because I'm going to make some pencil marks and I don't want to screw it up. I'm going to lie this down on top of the paper, giving myself a little bit of extra room on the edges, and I'm just going to take a handy dandy number 2 pencil, and I am going to lightly draw on the paper where the mat ends. So what I've created is a nice light pencil drawing indicating where the paper stops. Now, the lightly drawn outline of where the mat is going to end. I know that I don't need this extra paper over here, so I'm just going to cut that off right away. And this is great. I love having little pieces of scrap paper. I'm going to tape this down next to my work so that I can test colors while I'm painting. Okay, so now hopefully I can see where my lines are. There's cat hair all over this, of course, because Coco is a pain in the butt. So now I'm just going to find where my lines are. I'm going to tape along the lines that I drew down. And then finally I'm just going to tape it down to the board itself so it doesn't move around too much and so it doesn't warp. Although I think that this is a heavier pressed paper. It's probably a 300. I'm not absolutely certain since it's just scrap, but I think it's 300. It feels like 300. It probably isn't going to warp as much as the 140 that you guys are using. See here that this should just fit down, and when I place it, the edges of the mat should line up with where I've put tape down so that when it's finished, it'll fit perfectly in this mat. I will do a painting and put it all back together for you in the next video.